Thank you very much. With that, we bring in Dr. Nazee Moinian, Middle East Institute Adjunct Fellow, raised in Tehran, immigrated to the United States at the beginning of the 1979 revolution. Nazee, always good to have you with us. You know, I feel like we sort of always start in the same place because it feels like one step forward, one step back. We get different messages from the Iranian side. You know people in these places very well. What's your sense? What is going on? Are we going to get to a deal or not?
So thank you for having back.
Thank
It's
you.
good to see you again, Martha. The deal has come on the heels of a massive military campaign against Iran. So Iran is very much weakened. The projection of power is greatly diminished. The economy is in shambles. The social contract between the people and the regime is badly broken. Iranians will never forgive nor forget the massacres of January, where between 30 to 40,000 people were killed and are still missing. So Iran is not in a good state. And the president knows that. He has amassed huge leverage against the regime. And the deal he's talking about is going to be done when the strategic patience of Iran is done with. And I just want to unpack that a little bit. We've always all agreed that Iran has used time against the United States, that has dragged the negotiations, whether it was in Geneva or Oman or in Islamabad. They come and they show up, they don't show up, they don't agree, they don't agree amongst themselves. And I think we have arrived at a point where the president has figured that out. I think that both sides have figured each other's position out. But the advantage for the president is that he's under no economic pain, the way the regime in Iran is. He has the military posture. He now has the nerve posture. I know you've heard that he said, I'd like to meet the Ayatollah. I think we'll meet the Ayatollah. I think he's now trolling the Iranian leadership because it's yet to be seen whether Iranians themselves will meet the Ayatollah, let alone the president. So I think he is being provocative for a reason. And if he keeps it up the way he is now, since we have the time on our side and the ceasefire is still in effect and we're still doing the blockade over their blockade, he might have a deal better than the JCPOA.
So I was listening to General Jack Keane this morning, Institute for the Study of War, and he was saying that he does not see a resolution unless we return to military kinetic action. He said we probably have 2 more weeks worth of targets. Do you believe that if that were begun again and those targets were hit, that it's possible that you might cut the legs out from under this regime and they might actually fall?
Well, I can't argue against military action as much as I don't like war, and Iranians are, that's a country I was born and raised in. And there is a bunch of targets we can still hit. But I think this president wants to figure this out without any cost to American lives. Obviously, we lost 13 people at the very beginning of Operation Epic Fury. And I think if he keeps up the pressure the way he is, Iran is losing up to $500 million a day by not being able to export oil. The oil for gas and tanks is rationed because the gasoline for cars, they import rather than export.
I always end in the same place with you, but what about an uprising? If these things are so difficult for the people on the ground and they will never forgive the leadership, as you say, they don't have any guns, they don't have anybody on the ground with them. Is it possible to have an uprising and to change the regime from within?
It's possible to have an uprising. I think the Iranian people have passed their test, whether they took to the street in 2009 Green Revolution, 2019 for the subsidies, again to 2022 for the Women Life Freedom Movement, and again now. But they know the cost this time, and they're not willing to pay the cost the way they did in January for good reasons. And I've said this to you before. It's a very close-knit society. So a death is mourned by 200 to 300 people. So right now, about 6 million people in Iran are just mourning the deaths of January. But I think once they're given the chance, once they're given the opening, I don't think they will disappoint.
Nazee Moinian, thank you very much. Always good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Hanging Out with Me, Sean Hannity. The big interviews, the debates you won't get anywhere else. Like and subscribe for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday.